Struggling to sleep at night and heard about cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia? Before you dive into CBTI, you need to know the real pros and cons. In this video, I'm breaking down the truths about CBTI, sharing my personal insights, and revealing why it might not be the solution you're looking for. My name is Meredith Loudon. I'm a former insomniac turned insomnia coach. I specialize in helping people who can't stop thinking when trying to fall asleep. Also, if they wake up in the middle of the night with an active mind, or if they feel an overall sense of alertness or awakeness at bedtime. This is what I've helped hundreds of people fix naturally through my process called the Sleep Success Method. I personally struggled with chronic insomnia for 16 years, and to cure my own insomnia, I did not do CBTI. And I've had a lot of people come to me after they'd already tried working either one-on-one with a CBTI practitioner or joining some other sleep therapy program that was based on CBTI protocols, and those did not work for them. So if you're in that position right now, you are definitely in the right place because there is another way to go about fixing your sleep naturally. Quick disclaimer, I'm a sleep coach, not a doctor. This is not medical advice. You know yourself best, so take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Okay, let's get into what I see as the main pros and cons of CBTI. I'll start with the pros because that'll be faster for me to get through, and then the cons where I'm going to really explain the nuances behind why these cons are so problematic. Am I biased? Yes, I 100% am, but for good reason. Pro number one, research. There have been many studies done on CBTI, and the results were good enough for the American College of Physicians to consider CBTI as the first line of defense against insomnia. They also recommend that CBTI be tried before medication, which is pro number two, that it's an all-natural approach. No pharmaceuticals, and I agree that medication should not be the first thing you do because there are so many other things you can try before falling into being reliant on sleep aids. The next pro is that it doesn't claim to be a quick fix. The emphasis is on achieving long-term results, and I'm all about long-term results as well, and everything that I teach is in line with knowing exactly how to sleep well forever, because most other so-called insomnia treatments, they promise you overnight results, but those are usually in the form of pills or magic sleep potions. But those things don't actually cure insomnia, which I won't spend time on here because I talk about that in a lot of my other videos. The next pro is reframing sleep thoughts. CBTI does have an approach to address your thoughts about sleep and catching and reframing your negative sleep thoughts. How you think about sleep does have a direct impact on your ability to sleep easily, and that's also something that I place a huge emphasis on in my programs. There's a lot of different ways to reframe thoughts, and I've even created a bunch of reframing hacks, which are quick mindset shifting techniques that I've come up with over the years that get your thoughts going in a new empowering direction really easily so that you don't get sucked into a negative thought spiral. We've all been there, and that is no fun at all. The next pro is that sleep hygiene is not the main focus. CBTI admits that sleep hygiene is not effective for insomnia on its own, which I agree with. Sleep hygiene, it's generally good advice, but I also don't see it as a set of rules that you must follow because there's plenty of people who don't follow most of the sleep hygiene advice and they sleep just fine. Another pro is they teach you relaxation techniques. So most CBTI practitioners will teach you techniques to help you reduce stress, which makes sense because having too much stress suppresses your brain's production of the hormone melatonin, which is needed to be able to fall asleep. So you might learn things like progressive muscle relaxation, mindfulness, visualization, maybe meditation, or some breathing techniques. And in my Sleep Success program, inside Module 1 is where I show you the techniques that I've found to be most powerful at quickly shifting you into a deeply relaxed state. And on top of that, I make it super easy for you to achieve that deep state of relaxation because it includes custom audios where I've actually combined multiple techniques into one guided audio, which makes it really easy for you to quickly relax. So I do like that CBTI includes relaxation techniques as part of the approach. Now let's get into the biggest cons. The first con is kind of silly, but I cannot stand the terminology that CBTI uses to describe their protocols. Just pay attention right now to how you feel in your body as I say each of these. Sleep restriction, stimulus control, sleep hygiene, relapse prevention. The language that we use to describe things is so powerful, and it has a direct impact on your results. There is a mind-body connection. So words like restriction and control, those sound really hard and forceful, which is the exact opposite of what is required in order for you to sleep. What about sleep hygiene? That makes it sound like there's a perfect set of rules you have to follow to be clean enough for sleep. That's just not true, and it gives a false impression. And then there's relapse prevention. Oh my gosh, the word relapse just has so many negative connotations to it, and making yourself feel bad does not help you sleep. So I could go on and on and on even more about the problems with these words, but you get the point. Con number 2, the sleep diary. Most CBT-I programs start right off the bat with you having to do a sleep diary. A sleep diary is where you keep a daily diary of what time you got into bed, what time you fell asleep, how long you were awake in the middle of the night, how many times you woke up in the middle of the night, and what time you finally got out of bed in the morning. The intention behind this is to get an accurate picture of your sleep as a sort of baseline so that you can track your progress. I don't do this for a couple of reasons. I think that doing this right away could actually make your sleep worse because it's adding too much focus on your sleep and can accidentally create a bit of an obsession with how many hours you're sleeping. This also requires you to be very aware of what time it is you're getting into bed at night and in the middle of the night if you wake up. And I found time and time again that it is much better to completely ignore what time it is and to train yourself to not pay attention to the clock. And we get people much faster results that way. It's also just an extra thing for you to do that doesn't actually get you any closer to sleeping more. You know, I never did this, and even the thought of it just stresses me out, and stress doesn't help you sleep. So I have a different philosophy, which is that I think it's more important to go based on how you feel day to day instead of using the number of hours as some sort of deciding factor, because how you feel is what is most important. So instead of starting right off the bat with a sleep diary that might accidentally make things a little bit worse and get you paying too much attention to something that doesn't help you in the long run, I'd rather you make progress and see some quick wins right away, which is why Module 1 of my Sleep Success course starts with your simple daily routine, which includes listening to the custom audios that I created that retrain your mind and body to more quickly shift from an active state to a relaxed state, which sets you up to be able to fall asleep quickly at night. The next big con is sleep restriction, which is restricting your time in bed. They say it's not to restrict the amount of sleep you're getting, but by default, it can turn into that because one thing that they usually have you do is get into bed at a later time than you normally would. I had one client that I was working with who recently was working with a CBT-I therapist before she found me, and they had her wait to get into bed until around 11 p.m. or midnight, but she had to wake up at 5 a.m. to get to work on time. And so that created an added layer of anxiety for her, and anything that creates more stress or anxiety, that will negatively impact your sleep. So with sleep restriction, there is a good intention behind it. You know, the idea is that if you've had insomnia for a while, that you may have associated being in bed with being awake. And so they want you to spend less time in bed when you're not sleeping to break that association. I see this a bit differently. For most people, I don't think that it's actually your bed to which that association with being awake has been made. Most people love their bed, especially when you're exhausted from not sleeping. All you want to do is lay down, and your bed is the most comfortable place to do that. What I believe is actually the problem is that your mind and body have associated nighttime with you being awake. So it's not your bed, it's nighttime in general. And so the approach that I take instead focuses on retraining your mind and body to associate nighttime with relaxation and peace and comfort, which is why it's not necessary to do this whole sleep restriction thing, because we can get you the result in a much easier, more comfortable way that doesn't stress you out. I have another one-on-one client that I'm working with right now where we actually tested having her get into bed earlier than she used to, and that increased the amount of sleep she was getting and helped her sleep longer through the night without waking up after only sleeping 1 or 2 hours like she used to. So I find that people need a longer window of time to allow their mind and body to wind down and relax before closing their eyes to sleep. So by getting into bed a bit earlier, we can create more of a buffer where you're not rushing to fall asleep quickly once you're in bed, and you maintain that sense of peace and calm, which makes it easier to fall asleep. Another huge con is stimulus control. I have a lot of disagreements with this one. Stimulus control is about associating your bed with sleep and sex and nothing else. The CBT-I perspective on this is that you've created an association between the bed itself and you experiencing being awake all night. So stimulus control is where they make you get out of bed if you're unable to sleep, and it also says that you should avoid doing anything else in bed, like watching TV or being on your laptop or whatever, because the thought process is that you've started viewing your bed as a bad place to be. And I just don't think that this is the real issue for most people. I think most people enjoy being in bed, and so forcing you to get out of bed if you're not asleep creates this added stress to the whole situation. CBT-I will make you get out of bed if you can't fall asleep. And also, if you wake up and you can't fall back to sleep, they also want you to get out of bed and wait until you feel sleepy again, and then you repeat the process. So let's say you wake up in the middle of the night, so you get out of bed, then you wait till you feel tired to get back into bed, but then if you get back into bed and can't fall asleep again, they want you to get out of bed again and do this whole back and forth thing. This is just kind of laughable to me. It makes no sense. For me, in my own brain, this seems like it would increase the stress that I would feel around my bed. So I just think it is completely backwards. There are some scenarios where, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to get out of bed if you're like really frustrated in the middle of the night and you feel like really uncomfortable in your own body. But I would say that that's more rare. And there's actually a lot of ways to remove any feelings of frustration so that at least you're resting. I would rather you rest your mind, rest your body, rest your eyes so that you're actually re-energizing instead of making you get out of bed if you're not asleep. So when I work with my clients, we have strategies to help you feel comfortable in bed if you happen to wake up in the middle of the night that help you continue resting and increases your chances of falling back asleep more quickly. And I've talked to so many people who tried this whole back and forth sleep restriction, getting out of bed thing, and I would never put you through that because not sleeping is hard enough as it is. CBT-I practitioners will explain that this short-term pain is necessary to reap the long-term benefits of fixing your insomnia, and I just completely disagree with that philosophy. They also say that by intentionally making you more sleep deprived by doing this, that it will build up your desire to sleep. And I'm sorry, but you already have enough desire to sleep. We don't need to make you go through more pain to increase that. I've seen it time and time again with hundreds of success stories from members of my sleep success program that we can get you sleeping great again without any pain at all. Then when it comes to the other part of stimulus control, which is only using your bed for sleep and sex, I also am not so strict with this. Now, I don't want you lying in bed all day long because that's not going to help you sleep either. I want you to get up in the morning, go about your day, live your life, exercise, because you have to use up some amount of energy during the day so that you're tired and set yourself up to sleep well the next night. But for me personally, some days I love sitting in bed on my laptop and working on stuff from time to time. CBT-I doesn't allow that, and it also doesn't allow you to watch a TV show from your bed. So I didn't follow any of this to cure my own insomnia, and I also don't use this approach with my clients because it's just not going to be the thing that makes it or breaks it in regards to your sleep. How to decide which approach is right for you. Before moving forward with a certain program or treatment to improve your sleep, I would pay attention to these things the most. 1, testimonials. Does the person you're hiring have a lot of testimonials? Has their approach worked for more than one type of person? Has it worked for someone in a similar situation to you? 2, personal struggle with insomnia. I think it is extremely important to work with someone who has personally experienced insomnia themselves and who deeply understands the nuances of it. Because there are a lot of nuances, and if you haven't been through it yourself, I don't think you'd be as effective at helping someone achieve results quickly as someone who has struggled with insomnia. 3, gut feeling. What's your gut telling you? Do you feel drawn to a certain teaching style, a certain personality? Do you resonate with how they talk, how they teach, their approach? Trust yourself and just take the first step. And if you start following one approach and you don't like it, you can always stop doing that and move on to try something else. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend you watch my free masterclass for insomnia that's on my website. I'll link it in the description below. This is where I walk you through the 3 biggest insomnia mistakes you're accidentally making and show you the strategy behind my sleep success method that has helped hundreds of people fix their sleep naturally and no longer need sleeping pills. If you've tried a lot of things that haven't worked for you, I want to remind you that there are many different avenues to get to your end goal. So just because one thing didn't work for you, all that means is it wasn't the right fit. I know how defeating it can be when you try something that doesn't work and it makes you either want to give up or you feel like you're broken and going to be stuck in that situation forever. But there is always something better out there that is the right fit for you. Please give me your feedback on this video in the comments below. What did you think of these pros and cons? Have you tried CBT-I? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you now leaning more towards trying it or not? I would love to know what you think. Also, please like this video so the algorithm helps more people find this information. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Thanks for watching to the end. I'm truly so grateful for you. And remember, you're more powerful than you think.